the alien who taught us how to dream again. The world had grown quiet, not the kind of silence that brings peace, but the kind that feels heavy, like the air itself had forgotten how to sing. Cities still shone at night, their towers still climbed into the clouds, and people still walked the streets with purpose. But beneath it all, there was an emptiness. The laughter that once filled markets, the stories told under flickering lights, the joy of gazing at the stars. All had faded. It had been decades since humanity stopped dreaming. We stopped dreaming when the oceans rose and the forests turned gray, when the last wild bird vanished from the sky and the last whale fell silent in the depths. We had built machines to replace beauty, synthetic trees, digital skies, and perfect weather made by cold algorithms. The world was stable, clean, efficient, but soulless. People said it was progress. I wasn't sure anymore. My name is Alara Voss, and I was an astrophysicist stationed at the Luna Arc Observatory, the largest human facility on the moon. I had been studying the patterns of faint radio waves from distant galaxies, signals we once called noise. But that day, on the edge of lunar night, something strange appeared in the data. A rhythm, a pulse, and then a voice. At first, it was impossible to believe. The transmission came through a dead frequency, one that hadn't been used in over 50 years. It wasn't machine code. It wasn't human speech. But it had structure, harmony, a melody made of mathematics and light. I called my team. We ran every translation algorithm we had. The system kept returning one line in human language. Do you still dream? It was a question. Simple, but ancient. And when I read it aloud, the room fell silent. For the first time in a long while, I felt something stir inside me, something I hadn't felt since I was a child staring up at the stars. Wonder. The message repeated for 3 days straight. Then it changed. This time, the signal carried coordinates, somewhere near the edge of Jupiter's orbit, far beyond the reach of human traffic. It wasn't a place anyone had been to before. Yet the tone of the message, the pattern of light, seemed almost inviting. The Council on Earth debated for days. Some believed it was a trick, rogue AIs, or remnants of alien data long dead. But I volunteered to go. I wanted to believe that something still waited for us beyond our machines, beyond our silence. And so, I boarded the Odyssey, a small research vessel built for deep space travel. I was joined by 3 others. Dr. Cale Moran, an engineer who trusted machines more than people. Saren Ilya, a linguist who had lost her daughter in the Earth floods. And Captain Orion Hale, a man who had seen too much war and too little peace. We launched from the moon's dark side into a sea of stars. For weeks, the journey was uneventful. We drifted through the blackness, engines humming softly, passing through the quiet trails of dust left by comets. Yet the signal continued, growing clearer as we approached the coordinates. Then we saw it. A ship, or something like a ship, floating in the shadow of Jupiter. It was massive, like a cathedral sculpted from silver glass. Its surface shimmered with patterns that moved like the surface of water, reflecting stars in impossible ways. It didn't look built. It looked grown. Captain Hale slowed our approach. "Is it alive?" he whispered. "I don't know," I said. "But it's calling us." We docked, or rather the ship allowed us to. The structure opened a soft corridor of light that extended toward us, drawing us in like a heartbeat. Inside, gravity shifted gently beneath our feet. The walls were translucent, pulsing faintly with colors that reminded me of the auroras of Earth, colors no camera could ever capture. Then, in the center of a vast chamber, we saw it. The being. It stood tall and slender, surrounded by floating threads of light. Its form was neither male nor female, fluid, radiant, and calm. It didn't have eyes as we knew them, yet I felt its gaze pierce straight into my thoughts. There was no fear, only recognition. When it spoke, the sound wasn't heard with ears but felt inside the mind. "You came," it said. "After so long." Cale froze. What are you?" "We were dreamers once," the being replied. "Long before your kind looked at the stars. We learned to weave thoughts into light and songs into memory. But when your world began to sleep, we felt it. Across the distances, we felt your silence. We came to ask, why did you stop dreaming? No one answered. The words hung heavy in the chamber. That night, or whatever passed for night inside the alien vessel, I recorded everything. The being called itself alien, though it said names were shadows of the self. It explained that its species, the Alindra, traveled not through space, but through consciousness. They navigated dreams, streams of thought that connected all intelligent life. But the human dream had gone dark. Their passage through our minds had become impossible. They came not to conquer, but to understand. Saren was the first to speak openly to Elian. She told it about the wars, the floods, the endless fear. How we had traded imagination for survival. How hope had become a luxury, not a right. Elian listened silently, its form shimmering with sadness. When you forget how to dream, it said, you forget how to create. And when creation ends, so does life. Your machines may sustain you, but they do not love you. They do not dream of what could be, they only preserve what is. It then reached out, a thread of light touching Saren's forehead. She gasped. For a moment, her face changed, softened, glowing. Later, she told us she saw her daughter again, smiling in a field of golden light. It wasn't real, not in the physical sense, but it felt real. And when Saren awoke, she cried for the first time in years. Days passed aboard the alien ship. Elian showed us visions, memories from worlds we had never known. Planets made of crystal rain, cities that floated above oceans of dreams. Beings made of music and color, not flesh and bone. It said these were not fantasies, but living realities, birthed by civilizations that never lost their imagination. Dreams, Elian told us, are the seeds of every world. Without them, creation ends. The stars grow silent. And soon you will too. I began to wonder if that was what had happened to us, if humanity's silence had echoed across the galaxy, calling these beings to us, not as saviors, but as mourners. But Elian was not here to mourn. It was here to teach. One evening, as we floated through the chamber of light, Elian approached me. You search for meaning in the stars, it said, but you have forgotten that the greatest cosmos exists within the mind. Would you like to see? Before I could answer, the world around me vanished. I was standing on Earth, but not the one I knew. The skies were alive with color, the air filled with the laughter of children. Trees shimmered like emerald fire. Cities hummed with energy, not from machines, but from the shared heartbeat of humanity. It was Earth as it could have been, as it once dreamed itself to be. I fell to my knees, overwhelmed. This, Elian's voice echoed, is your forgotten dream. You once believed in beauty, without reason. You once reached for stars not to conquer, but to belong. Find that again, and you will find yourselves. When I awoke, I was back in the ship. My hands trembled. I understood then what Elian meant. Humanity's greatest tragedy wasn't war, or greed, or pollution. It was that we had forgotten to imagine a better world. And somewhere deep inside me, I felt a flicker, a beginning. The dream was returning. When I opened my eyes the next morning, I wasn't sure if I had truly slept, or if I had been wandering in one of Elian's dreams. The lines between reality and imagination had begun to blur. The others were quiet at breakfast, lost in thought. Saren stared at her hands, still trembling from her vision. Kale kept running diagnostics on the ship, as if trying to prove everything had a logical explanation. And Captain Hale looked out the window at the swirling storms of Jupiter, silent as stone. No one spoke of what we had seen. Yet something had changed between us. The emptiness that had filled our eyes before was replaced by a faint spark, a question we didn't dare ask aloud. Could it be true? Could we learn to dream again? Later that day, Elian summoned us to a wide circular chamber filled with floating lights. The air shimmered like mist. This is the Hall of Memory, it said. Here, dreams are born. At the center of the hall stood a column of light, rising endlessly upward. Inside it moved images, some strange, some familiar. We saw stars being born, oceans forming, faces from other worlds, all blending together like living art. Alien motioned toward it. Each light is a thought, each color a memory. When your kind first looked up at the night sky, your dreams entered this current. You were part of something vast. But when fear replaced wonder, the current grew thin. Captain Hale frowned. You're saying our thoughts affect the universe? Alien turned to him. Your dreams are the universe. Reality is woven from what the living imagine. You have simply forgotten your power. Kale muttered, That's impossible. Physics doesn't. Physics, Alien interrupted softly, is only the shadow of imagination that has become stable. For a long moment, none of us could speak. Then Saren stepped forward. Can we restore it? She asked. Can we make humanity dream again? Alien's light pulsed like a heartbeat. Yes. But not through machines or science. Only through memory, through feeling. I can show you how. That was how the lessons began. Each day, Alien guided us through what it called the streams. We would lie in a ring of light while the ship hummed softly around us. Then, slowly, our minds would open, merged by a gentle current of energy that connected us to one another. The first time, I saw Kale's childhood, his home buried under glass domes, his father building robots to survive the droughts. I saw Saren teaching her little girl how to draw the moon before the floods took her away. I saw Captain Hale as a young soldier, standing under burning skies, whispering a prayer to stars that never answered. And they saw me. They saw my loneliness, my endless search for meaning in cold equations. Alien's voice guided us through it. To dream is to share. Dreams do not belong to one, but to all. The moment you open your hearts, the walls that divide you will dissolve. By the end of the first session, we were shaking, crying, laughing all at once. It felt like we had remembered how to feel again. Over the next weeks, Alien taught us more. It showed us how to shape light with thought, how to weave emotion into form. When Saren remembered her daughter's laughter, a sphere of golden light bloomed in her hands. When Kale let go of his doubts, a flower of silver energy unfolded beside him. Captain Hale's memories created wings of starlight that lifted him off the ground for a moment. Alien smiled, if such a being could smile. You see? Creation begins here, it said, touching its chest. When you dream without fear, the universe responds. I asked, is this how your kind travels between stars? Yes, Alien said. We dream ourselves across the cosmos. Thought and matter are not separate to us. We do not move through space. We move through belief. Its words made me dizzy, but they felt true. For the first time, the universe didn't feel like a machine of cold physics. It felt alive, a breathing, listening thing. One day, Alien told us it was time to return to Earth. We were not ready, it said, but humanity was waiting, even if it didn't know it yet. The Alindra could not descend openly. Their presence might break fragile human minds still asleep in logic and fear. But we, the dreamers who had been awakened, could bring the light back. Captain Hale hesitated. Earth isn't what it used to be. People have forgotten wonder. They'll laugh at us. Alien looked at him with quiet warmth. They may laugh, but one dream can ignite 1,000. You must carry the flame, no matter how small. It extended its hand toward us, and each of us received a small sphere of light. The spheres floated like stars, pulsing gently. These are seeds of memory, Alien said. Fragments of the dream current. They will guide you when doubt returns. When I touched mine, it melted into my skin and vanished. A strange warmth spread through me, like sunlight beneath my heart. We left Jupiter's orbit and began the long journey home. But the stars no longer looked the same. They shimmered as if aware of us, as if whispering softly across the void. During the voyage, something began to change inside our ship. The lights flickered in patterns like constellations. The metal walls shimmered with faint colors. Once, I woke in the middle of the night to see images forming on the ceiling, shapes of forests, oceans, and faces I did not know. It was as though the ship itself had begun to dream. Kale confirmed that nothing was wrong mechanically. It's responding to us, he said quietly. To our thoughts. Our emotions. It's alive. Saren smiled for the first time in months. Maybe it's learning from us, just like we learned from Elian. When we finally neared Earth, the blue planet floated before us, like a tired jewel. The surface shimmered with artificial grids of light, cities wrapped in technology, oceans bordered by containment domes. It looked peaceful but hollow. We landed in a quiet area near what was once the Himalayas, now mostly dry plateaus. Our arrival was monitored immediately. Within hours, Earth's Global Council summoned us for questioning. They thought we were lying. They scanned our memories, checked the ship's logs, reviewed the recordings, but none of their instruments could detect Elian's voice or presence. To them, it was a hallucination, a shared illusion caused by cosmic radiation. But something about us frightened them. Maybe it was the way Saren's eyes glowed faintly when she spoke, or the fact that our ship's hull no longer matched any known material. The council ordered us to remain under observation. We were escorted to a sterile complex in the city of New Geneva, where dreams had long been outlawed as psychological instability. Ironic, I thought. The first dreamers in centuries, treated like the sick. The days blurred together. They tried to separate us, to study us. They questioned us endlessly. What was the alien's purpose? Did it threaten Earth? Was it trying to invade our minds? But each night, when we slept, we met again, in a shared dream. Elian's light still connected us. And there, we remembered who we were. We began to send out small waves of the dream current through the networks, coded images, whispers, sounds buried in transmissions. To the watchers, it was meaningless data. But to the right minds, the curious, the broken, the lonely, it was a spark. And soon, something began to happen. Children across the world started to dream again. They described glowing beings, rivers of light, skies full of voices. Artists began painting visions of places no one had seen. Poets wrote of colors that didn't exist. And slowly, people began to feel again. The council called it a psychic anomaly. They tried to suppress it. But dreams, once born, are impossible to control. One night, the guards in our facility began to change too. I remember a young officer standing outside my cell, staring at the stars through the glass. "Dr. Voss," he whispered, "last night I saw my brother. He's been gone for years." But he was smiling. I think I was dreaming. I smiled back. That's how it starts. By the next month, the phenomenon had spread to millions. The sterile, perfect world humanity had built began to crack, not with destruction, but with life. People began planting trees again, not because they were ordered to, but because they wanted to see green. Music returned to the streets. Children laughed in the rain. The air filled with song. And somewhere in the skies above, strange auroras began to appear, colors no scientist could explain. It was as if the universe itself was watching, smiling. Elian's voice echoed in my dreams once more. "The current flows again. You have remembered what it means to be alive." I asked, "Will we ever see you again?" "We are with you always," it said. "In every dream. In every act of creation. You do not need us anymore, Ilara. You have become what you were meant to be." I felt tears on my face as I woke. The light of dawn streamed through the window, and for the first time in centuries, Earth was truly awake. The world changed slowly at first, like a frozen river beginning to thaw. Dreams, once considered a weakness, became a quiet revolution. It started with the artists and children, then spread to the engineers, the farmers, the teachers, the tired, and the lost. People began to imagine again, and with imagination came creation. Within a year, cities that had been built only for function began to transform. Gray towers were painted with color. Gardens grew between steel walls. Streets filled with songs, not advertisements. The dull hum of machines was joined by laughter and music. It was as if humanity, had remembered how to breathe. But the council was not at peace. To them, the dreams were dangerous, unpredictable. People were acting irrationally, disobeying systems that had kept society stable. They called it the dream disorder. And so, they sent soldiers to capture us again, the first dreamers. We were living in a small community outside New Geneva by then, hidden among the reborn forests. I had planted a tree near the cabin where we stayed. A sapling grown from a seed alien had given me a vision. Its leaves shimmered faintly at night, reflecting the light of unseen stars. Kale was building strange devices, machines that responded not to buttons or code, but to emotion. He said they sang when you believed in them. Saren had begun teaching children how to dream together, forming groups that shared visions while awake. And Captain Hale had become quiet, watching over us with the protectiveness of an old soldier guarding something sacred. The night the soldiers came, the stars were brighter than ever. We heard the hum of their transport ships before we saw them, black wings cutting across the moonlight. They surrounded the clearing, weapons drawn. A metallic voice echoed through a loudspeaker. By order of the Global Council, you are under arrest for psychic contamination and unauthorized influence of civilian consciousness. Step forward immediately. Kale whispered, they think they can stop a dream with guns. I stepped forward. The commander, a stern woman with silver implants under her skin, glared at me. You've infected the world with chaos, Dr. Voss, she said. We're here to restore order. I looked past her at the soldiers, at their rigid faces, their mechanical armor. Do you still dream? I asked quietly. She hesitated. Dreaming is a distraction from reality. Maybe, I said softly, or maybe it is reality. For a moment, she looked uncertain. Then she raised her weapon. Take them. Before the soldiers could move, the ground beneath us began to glow. The light came from the roots of the tree, the one alien had shown me in my vision. Its branches shimmered, spreading a soft wave of gold across the clearing. The soldiers froze, their armor flickering. Saren's eyes widened. It's happening, she whispered. The air thickened with light, and in it, shapes began to appear. Faces, memories, dreams. Children laughing. Oceans reborn. Birds flying through colors that had no name. The dreams of humanity were rising, joining together into a single, living force. The soldiers dropped their weapons. Some began to cry. One fell to his knees, whispering, I can see my wife. She's been gone for years. The commander stared at me, trembling. What is this? It's the dream, I said simply. And it's awake now. In the following months, the council lost control. The world no longer obeyed the old systems. People had begun to create new ones, communities built on shared imagination and compassion. Machines started to work differently, responding to emotion and intention. Crops grew faster when people sang to them. Cities produced clean energy through harmonics of sound and light. It was as if the earth itself had joined the dream. We were free, but also uncertain. Humanity had never lived like this before. There were no rules, no hierarchies, only endless possibility. Some feared it. Others embraced it with open arms. Elian's voice returned to me often in dreams. Creation is not without chaos. But from chaos, new stars are born. Trust the current. One night, I stood under the stars and saw something impossible. The constellations were moving. Slowly, gracefully, forming new patterns, symbols that glowed across the sky. Then I recognized them. They were words in the Alindra language. A message. We are with you. I called the others outside. We stood there in silence, tears glistening in the starlight. The sky had become a living canvas, painted by the collective dreams of humankind and the Alindra beyond. Saren whispered, It's like we're dreaming the universe alive. And in that moment I realized we were. Years passed. The world transformed beyond recognition. Rivers ran clean again, not through machines, but through intention and care. Forests grew from seeds shared in dreams. People began to travel not just across the planet, but through visions shared journeys of the mind that connected distant lands instantly. They called it dreamwalking. Children born in this new age could speak in images, create light with thought, and heal with emotion. The world that had once been dying was now a garden of possibilities. I sometimes wondered if aliens still watched us from the stars. I often felt its presence, gentle as the wind, guiding us like a parent watching their child take its first steps. But not everyone was ready for the new world. In the remnants of the old cities, a few groups resisted the change. They believed dreams were illusions, tricks meant to destroy logic and progress. They built walls of metal and silence, isolating themselves from the dream current. They called themselves the realists. Captain Hale decided to visit one of their enclaves to speak with them. "They fear what they don't understand," he said. "Maybe they just need to see what we've seen." He left at dawn, carrying only his starlight pendant, the gift Elian had left him. He never returned. Days turned into weeks. We searched through the dream currents, through every channel of thought and memory, but his presence was gone. It was as if he had vanished from both the physical and dream worlds. Saren was heartbroken. Kale grew restless, pacing endlessly. I sat by the tree each night, asking the stars for a sign. Then, one evening, as the sun bled gold across the sky, the tree began to hum softly. Its branches formed glowing patterns, the same as those in the sky months before. I reached out to touch it. A vision flooded my mind. Captain Hale stood on a field of starlight, surrounded by shapes of pure energy, Alindra beings. His eyes were bright, and he smiled. "Ilara," his voice echoed. "I'm not gone." The realists tried to destroy the dream field, but instead it opened a path. I've crossed over into the realm of Elian's kind. They showed me what lies beyond. Humanity's dream doesn't end with Earth. It begins there. I felt tears stream down my face. "Will you come back?" I whispered. "Not in the way you think," he said gently. "But I'll be with you, in every sunrise, every child's laugh, every dream that refuses to die." Then he was gone, and the vision faded into the night. After that, something changed again. Dreams began spreading beyond Earth. The solar system itself seemed to awaken. Saturn's rings shimmered with light patterns that resembled thoughts. Mars bloomed with strange glowing plants. Even the void between planets flickered with faint auroras of color. Elian's final message came through one night as I drifted between waking and sleep. "You have remembered what it means to dream. But now you must learn what it means to create together. Dream not as one world, but as one universe." I realized then what Elian had truly taught us. Dreaming wasn't about escaping reality. It was about shaping it with love and imagination. And dreaming together was how life itself evolved. I am old now. The world outside my window is not the one I was born into. The skies shimmer with colors unseen before. Cities float like clouds, powered by song. Children speak with the stars. Humanity has become a civilization of dreamers. And yet, sometimes, I sit under the ancient tree, the one that glows faintly at night, and I whisper to the stars, "Thank you, Elian, for teaching us how to dream again." Because it wasn't just an alien that changed us. It was the reminder that we had carried the light all along. The dream was never theirs to give. It was ours to remember. And now, across the galaxies, that dream lives on. The Earth had awoken. But awakening was only the beginning. Humanity, now full of dreams, began to look outward, not with fear, but with wonder. We were no longer content with the limits of our planet. The streams of imagination and memory that Elian had opened to us revealed something incredible. We could travel through dreams, not physically, but across the cosmos itself. Dreamwalking had become our new form of exploration. It was neither magic nor technology, but a living bridge between thought and reality. Those who learned to navigate the dream current could leave Earth behind, visiting distant worlds in mind and spirit. And each dream became a form of creation. Kale was the first to attempt a long-distance journey. He lay beneath the tree in our community, eyes closed, letting the light of Elian's seed course through him. Slowly, the world dissolved around him. He traveled not through space, but through consciousness. He returned hours later with his eyes wide and sparkling. "I've seen planets made of liquid crystal," he whispered. "Cities built entirely of song. And beings who communicate with thought alone. They've never seen humans before, but they know us. They've been waiting for dreamers." Saren began to teach children to dream in groups. Each child's imagination intertwined, forming a collective mind capable of shaping reality. Forests grew in deserts. Rivers flowed where none had run in centuries. Music lifted the skies. Entire towns transformed, reflecting the hopes and memories of their inhabitants. It was beautiful, but also fragile. Some adults resisted. Not everyone wanted dreams to change their reality. In certain regions, the realists still tried to maintain order through fear, rejecting imagination as a threat to stability. They built towers of silence, cutting off communities from the dream currents. Yet every attempt to suppress dreaming failed. Where one tower fell silent, another community's dreams shone brighter. The dream current was alive, self-repairing, spreading like a river of light across Earth. Elian's influence was subtle now, but present. Every night, I felt its pulse in the wind, in the rain, in the laughter of children. Sometimes, it whispered softly, guiding us through visions we could barely understand, showing us paths to new worlds. "Creation," it said one night in my dream, "is not an act of one mind. It is a symphony of many. And now, your species must learn to play together." We began organizing expeditions beyond Earth. Small groups of dreamers would lie together in the Hall of Memory, then allow their consciousness to drift outward. The first journey took us to Mars. The barren red world had long been abandoned, but through our dreams, we reshaped it. Water appeared in rivers and lakes, flowing as if the planet itself remembered it once. Trees sprouted, tall and luminous, leaves reflecting the sun in strange hues. And in the valleys, we saw shadows of life, animals born of our collective imagination, running free across the plains. When we returned to Earth, the vision stayed. Plants grew more quickly. Seeds carried our thoughts. Children drew animals they had only seen in dreams, and the animals appeared, real and breathing. We understood then, creation in the dream current had consequences. Dreaming was no longer private. Every act of imagination had power. Every thought could change the world. Then we ventured farther. The moon became a network of floating gardens. Jupiter's storms turned into ribbons of light, inhabited by creatures that sang in colors. Saturn's rings became playgrounds for dreamers, islands of ice and crystal where humans and alien beings danced together. The Alindra themselves began appearing in subtle forms. Not to rule, not to teach, but to watch. Sometimes their voices echoed in the wind. Sometimes their light appeared as auroras on Earth. They reminded us of balance. To dream without care could be dangerous. But to dream with love and connection, the results were infinite. One day, while traveling near Neptune, we encountered a civilization unlike anything we had imagined. The beings were made entirely of flowing light, moving like waves of energy. They had no names, no language, but their thoughts were a melody we could feel. Through shared dreaming, we communicated. They had been waiting for humanity to awaken. Other species have forgotten their dreams. They conveyed. Many worlds are silent. Your kind has remembered. You carry hope for the galaxy. I realized then that Elian had not only saved Earth. It had ignited a spark that could travel across the universe. Humanity was no longer isolated. Our dreams could touch distant stars and distant minds. The dream current is alive, I whispered, and it flows beyond us. Back on Earth, the impact was profound. Entire communities began reorganizing around shared imagination. Schools taught dreamcrafting, guiding children to shape their thoughts into reality. Cities became living works of art, responding to the emotions of their citizens. Technology began working in harmony with the dream current, rather than against it. Machines sang, lights danced, and energy flowed without waste. Even the realists began to change. One by one, those who resisted found themselves in dreams they could not ignore. Memories of lost loved ones, visions of beauty long forgotten, moments of wonder. They could not shut them out. Slowly, some began to join us, timidly at first, then fully, laughing with children as they imagined new worlds. Earth was waking, truly waking, and there was no going back. Yet there were challenges. The more we expanded the dream current, the more the line between dreams and reality blurred. Sometimes we would wake to find impossible things in the real world, glowing plants, rivers of light, creatures that belonged to imagination. Not everyone understood. Some panicked. Others exploited the dream current for selfish gain. We realized that humanity needed discipline and dreams. Just as we had forgotten to dream, we could forget to care for what we created. Elian's presence guided us here, teaching subtle lessons. Creation without responsibility becomes destruction, it whispered in the wind. Remember balance. Remember connection. And we learned. Years passed. The first generation of children who had grown up dreaming together became leaders of the new world. They traveled not just physically, but through consciousness. They formed alliances with alien civilizations. They healed broken planets, restored ecosystems, and built cities that floated in the skies, grounded not by steel, but by shared thought and harmony. Kale's machines became instruments of imagination. Saren's schools trained dreamwalkers who could travel to distant worlds. And I, now older, spent my days guiding new dreamers, reminding them of the lessons Elian had taught us, that imagination is power, that creation is responsibility, and that hope is the greatest gift of all. At night, under the shimmering auroras of Earth and beyond, I sometimes hear Elian's soft voice. You have remembered. Now, dream as you were meant to. The universe awaits. And humanity did. We dreamt of other worlds, and through those dreams, we reached them. Not as conquerors, but as creators. Not as passive observers, but as active participants in the unfolding of the cosmos. Children who had never seen a star learned to walk among them in dreams. Cities of light and color blossomed on barren worlds. The Alindra watched, their approval quiet but constant. And on Earth, the people no longer feared silence, for they had learned to fill it with dreams. The alien who taught us how to dream again had returned home, perhaps to the stars beyond comprehension. But its gift remained with us, alive in every thought, every vision, every creation. The universe, once dark and silent, now pulsed with our dreams. And we had learned that dreaming was not just a gift, it was the beginning of everything. The universe was awake. Earth had transformed, and humanity was no longer confined to the limits of its own planet. Cities floated among the clouds, rivers glimmered with light, and forests stretched across once barren lands. Children laughed beneath auroras that painted the sky with colors unseen for centuries. Music flowed through the streets, through the oceans, through the very air. Humanity had remembered what it meant to dream. Yet even as we celebrated our rebirth, a new challenge emerged. Dreaming on a planetary scale was powerful, but it was only the beginning. The dream current now reached beyond our solar system, brushing against the consciousness of other civilizations. Some were curious and welcoming. Others were wary, even hostile. We realized that dreams carried responsibility. To shape worlds without understanding the forces at play could create chaos. One evening, I stood beneath the glowing branches of the first tree Elian had shown me. Its roots pulsed with light, a gentle hum echoing across the land. Children played nearby, their thoughts forming luminous creatures that darted through the air. I felt a presence behind me, familiar, comforting, vast. Elian had returned, not fully visible, but a wave of light and sound that washed over my mind. Its voice resonated deep within me, not as words, but as understanding. You have learned to dream, Ilara, it said. But dreaming alone is not enough. You must learn to create responsibly, to weave dreams with care, to guide your species beyond fear. The universe is a tapestry, and you are threads within it. Do you understand? I nodded, tears flowing freely.
Yes.
We understand now. Good, it continued. Then I will give you the final gift. Not a gift for one, but for all. A map of potential, paths of creation yet unseen. The choices you make will ripple across space and time. Use them wisely. Dream as you must, but remember the consequences. And then, a vision unfolded before me, a swirling network of light connecting countless civilizations, planets, and stars. Every thought, every dream, every emotion formed threads in the cosmic tapestry. Some threads glowed faintly, untouched by imagination. Others shimmered brightly, alive with creation. Your kind, Elian said, has been awakened to possibility. You can nurture life, restore worlds, connect species, and bring hope to the silent corners of the galaxy. Or you can falter, and the tapestry will fray. I felt the weight of responsibility settle in my chest. It was both terrifying and beautiful. For the first time, I truly understood what Elian had meant when it said humanity's dream was not private. It was a force that could shape the cosmos itself. The next day, we convened with the first generation of dreamers. Kale, Saren, and I shared the vision Elian had given. Together, we guided the communities to dream not just for Earth, but for other worlds. The process was delicate. Dreaming too strongly in one place could unbalance another. We developed the dream guides, humans trained to navigate the dream current safely. They became ambassadors, not of politics, but of imagination. We traveled through the dream streams to other planets, connecting with alien civilizations. Some were hesitant at first, guarding their worlds from interference. But as we showed that our dreams were born of compassion, creativity, and care, they began to join us. Shared visions became exchanges of culture, science, and art. The galaxy itself seemed to awaken, responding to the first true civilization that dreamed with both heart and mind. Earth became a hub, a central node in the growing network of dreamers. Cities became laboratories of creation. Rivers of thought flowed freely. Children who had never left their homes visited alien forests and crystal cities in dreams. Farmers cultivated glowing plants that thrived on imagination. Artists painted realities that later appeared in waking life. Humanity was no longer limited by biology or physics. It had become a civilization of creation itself. And yet, for all this progress, Elian reminded us of humility. Creation is not mastery, it said one night in my dream.
It is partnership.
With each other, with your worlds, and with a tapestry of life that stretches beyond comprehension. Remember balance, or your gift will become a burden. I listened, knowing the truth in its words. Power without wisdom could destroy. But when guided by empathy, creativity, and love, it could build wonders beyond imagining. Years passed. Dreamwalkers traveled the galaxy, connecting with civilizations that had long forgotten imagination. Deserts bloomed with life. Barren planets teemed with strange and beautiful ecosystems, and civilizations once dying were revitalized. Humanity's dream was no longer confined to Earth. It spread like a river of starlight, carrying hope and life wherever it flowed. Kale became the first dream cartographer, mapping networks of consciousness across the stars. Saren led schools of dreamers who could guide entire cities in collective visions. And I continued to teach, recording the lessons of Elian for future generations. Every night, the sky pulsed with auroras and threads of light, the visible signs of our collective dreaming. It was a living testament to what Elian had given us. The alien who taught us to dream again had shown humanity that imagination was not mere escape, it was creation itself. Then came the final gift. One night, under the glowing tree, I felt a presence unlike any before. Elian's form shimmered fully now, a radiant being of pure thought and color. It spoke in a way that filled my mind and heart.
Alara.
Humanity has learned to dream. You have learned to create. Now, I give you the ability to carry life beyond imagination. Not just to travel, but to shape galaxies. Not as gods, but as stewards of creation. You are ready. The tree's roots expanded, glowing like veins of gold across the land. A wave of energy passed through me and the others, connecting every dreamer on Earth. The network of light that had begun as whispers in our minds now flowed visibly, stretching across the planet and into space. It was the beginning of the dream continuum, an eternal current linking thought, life, and creation throughout the universe. Humanity embraced the gift with reverence and care. We did not conquer worlds. We nurtured them. We did not dominate civilizations. We joined them. We did not impose our dreams. We shared them, learning from the dreams of others. Earth became a living nexus, a place where imagination was tangible and the universe responded. Planets once silent hummed with life. Stars shimmered with the joy of creation. And humanity, guided by Elian's lessons, became a civilization of dreamers, creators, and stewards. The dream current flowed endlessly, carrying hope, connection, and possibility to every corner of existence. As for Elian, it vanished from sight, leaving only its presence in the pulse of light, the hum of the tree, and the resonance of dreams. Sometimes I could feel it watching, smiling, whispering, "You have remembered. Now dream as you were meant to. The universe awaits." I understood then that the alien had never truly left. Its gift was not a being, but a vision, a path, a reminder. That imagination, compassion, and collaboration were the seeds of all creation. Humanity had been awakened, not to survive, but to become. And in the quiet nights, beneath the shimmering auroras of Earth and the stars beyond, I would often whisper, "Thank you, Elian, for teaching us how to dream again." And I knew, without a doubt, that the dream would never end. Because once humanity remembered how to dream, it could never forget again.